Matt, I don't know where to start. Actually, I know where to start, but I don't know how to start. I think is the real thing here. If you have been a long time listener of FTS Gambling and Inside the Tank, you know that we are both huge Buckeye fans. And if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely watch some sort of the game, whether it was the full game itself or catching things here and there, depending on your fandom. But it was the biggest game of the weekend, especially in the 12 o'clock window. Arguably one of the biggest games of the year, especially based on ranking. Especially if you're in the Midwest, you're definitely dialed into this one. Matt, 3 years in a row. No excuses. I mean, not that I felt like there were many excuses the past 2 years, but like no excuses. The cheating scandal stuff, like again, that's up for debate on how extensive it was and how much it impacted the game or other games and how much of a competitive advantage it was. But that was snuffed out well before this version of the game. And the facts are that this was probably the most even that this matchup has been in a long time. It was clearly Michigan had the home field advantage, but they were also missing some key resources on their staff, aka their head coach, and aka the Michigan man himself, Connor Stallions. But either way, they were missing Jim Harbaugh, which does have an impact one way or another. And Ohio State was pretty much full strength from a health perspective. They were missing Lathan Ransom, but outside of that, weren't having, Georgia last year, you could have marked that up to Marvin got knocked out. Cade Stover was out. Travion wasn't there, blah, blah, blah. But like this was like the full strength Buckeyes, and they still lost. It was the closest that it's been in the 3 years, but they lost by 6. You can probably hear the pain in my voice, but Matt, you haven't said a word yet because I've just taken this moment to get some of this pain out. But how are you feeling?
Sad. Just, man, it sucks. It's 3 years running of just feeling like we got out schemed and out coached. And it's tougher to swallow that pill when it's an assistant coach. Now, I'm not putting this 100% on Ryan Day. I thought he coached or called an okay game.
Yeah.
Bottom line is you can't drop a pass for a first down on your first possession. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Egbuka did. You can't turn it over and give them the ball on the 10-yard line. For them to it feels like every single year Michigan has made those little plays and done the little things so much better than Ohio State has. That attention to detail, that grittiness, that kind of that toughness, just seems like they have that edge in this game for the last 3 years. And that's the edge that Ohio State has had for the prior 20. So I think, right, for Ohio State fans, I'm going to do a little bit of loser talk, but if I'm looking at this game, like if this was the first time Ryan Day had lost to Michigan, I think most Ohio State fans would have been like, we get it. You're in the big house. Yeah. This is like is evenly matched as this game has been in a really long time. It's so much harder to swallow when you think about the fact that you had CJ Stroud with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka and like all these guys last year. You had an all-pro, basically an all-pro offensive line for all intents and purposes. The year before you just had a completely stacked wide receiver room with Olave and Garrett Will. This is the year that to me was just flat out even on paper. What we maybe gain a little bit in on some of the offensive things. I think Michigan does equally as well on the ground on their side and their defensive scheme. So like it just seemed like it was such a good matchup. Obviously super disappointed we lost. I thought we had every opportunity to win that game, but like I said, it comes down to those really small details that I felt like they did a lot better. Coaching wise, like there were some things that I was frustrated with. I didn't get the punting early. I really didn't get the clock management at the end of the half. The timeout with 28 seconds left in the first quarter that then hinders that last drive where you can extend it a little bit longer, get an easier field goal. So there were some minor things that I felt, were just a little bit frustrating. And I didn't feel like you had those from Michigan side. When they needed a big play, they went and picked it up. If they needed a third down, a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, it felt like they got it every time. And the other thing is, all year we have said, hey, offense is not what we are accustomed to, but damn, it is fun watching this defense play. And it felt like the bend or break defense just bent too much. Like it was, you can't let them score every time they touch the ball in the second half and expect to win that football game. Whether it's field goals or touchdowns, like that was going to be a low scoring, affair. So you knew going into it, you were going to have to get some big stops, get some third down, stops and flip the field. And I know I keep on saying last thing, but last thing, if Parker Fleming has a job,
dude,
going into next year,
I
will be the most confused person in the world. How can you be the only special teams coordinator in college football and we can't flip a field with punts? Like every aspect of our special teams was just bad. So I'm so done with that. Like the inability to, like, one thing Urban Meyer was so good at is he 100% was going to make sure his special teams were in check, that they were the best unit on the field all day. And they did that consistently all the time. And then you've got a guy that's job is specific to making sure those things happen. And it just felt like special teams was this big, like, if you're just watching from afar, you don't really notice it. But as a fan who's seen it all year long, like it's so frustrating to see it show up in the biggest moments of the biggest game and, probably one of the biggest games in this rivalry's history. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got mine out of my system too.
No, I mean, on the Parker Fleming point, I mean, there's been concerns about that dude for, at least last season, if not the season before. And he was up for contract renewal at the end of last year and he got it instead of like just cutting ties, not like it was kind of just a, agree to part ways. It was like, no, they just they decided to extend him for another 2 years and increase his pay. And you just, the concerns continue to loom. I mean, there's a lot of things.
I'm hoping to get that same exact exposure at my job where I just do less work, don't try as hard. And they're like, hey, we want you to be here longer and we're going to give you more money. Like that's the dream, baby. Right. That is the dream.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't understand it. Maybe there's something that he does for the program that just no one else can do. And
he throws a killer Halloween party or something.
Right.
I don't get it doesn't.
Or he has a video of some, like, who knows? I don't know, but
he has all the details on Ryan Day's private underground investigation firm.
Right. Exactly. No, so that's frustrating, but I think the defense has been so good for most of the year. I mean, it was at least 1 or 2 ranked defense coming into that game. And it worked, right? The bend don't break worked for a lot of the year. They didn't let, a lot of plays over, 30, 40 yards. Like that was a big issue that had happened in the previous 2 years. That's why Jim Knowles came in. Like there was all, and then there was some, growing pains of Jim Knowles' new scheme and blah, blah, blah. But then I think the most frustrating part is finally when the offense was doing something.
Yeah.
And it's in the fourth quarter and there's 9 minutes to go. It's like, just get a stop. just get it. Like, please, like, I know that you guys are bend or don't break, and I know that Michigan is capable of Blake Corum, taking having a house call, right? But like, you need to stop, because although this offense has had success, having final a drive against Notre Dame and things like that, in the final minutes, like they do need time. What was working was getting shipped the ball and like kind of more of the chunk plays, right? Like, clearly there were some shots, and then now you put your team in the position where not only do you not get the stop ultimately, like they put points on the board, not only do you not get the stop, but you also waste 8 minutes of valuable time in this game. In the biggest moment, this is like the best version of the defense that we're going to have for a little bit, because it's a bunch of third year, fourth year guys, like true veterans. And it just, you let us down there. That was frustrating. But my overall frustration outside of that, I think some of it is coaching for sure. Some of it is maybe not, like you said, I don't think Ryan Day called a bad game. I think that there are other aspects of being the head coach, such as keeping a Parker Fleming around, such as maybe the mismanagement of, I don't know, just like some of this, like mismanagement of maybe the lead up to, like, there's a lot of different aspects that are like, that clearly needs improved. Like, I don't think it's fire Ryan Day. I don't think that, clearly he's not going to A&M, and we can get to that later on, but clearly he's not going to A&M. Clearly he's here to stay for at least another year, if not longer. And so I don't think like it's an overhaul, like got to fire everybody and get rid of it, but it's like there are some things that need to change around the program. There's some things that he needs to change, such as letting a Parker Fleming go. But either way,